you wake up hungry. You don't check your bank account. You don't scroll through delivery apps. You don't calculate if you can afford breakfast today. You just walk outside and eat. For 300,000 years, food was free. No price tags, no grocery bills, no wages to earn before you could eat. So when exactly did eating become something you had to pay for? So what exactly was on the menu? Forget everything you think you know about the caveman diet. No, they weren't just gnawing on raw meat bones around a fire. The reality was far more varied and, honestly, far healthier than what most people eat today. Meat when they could get it. Fish if they were near water. Dozens of different wild fruits, berries, and roots depending on the season. Nuts, seeds, honey when they could find it. Insects for protein, still eaten by 2 billion people today. But here's what makes this interesting. Archaeologists studying ancient human remains found something unexpected. Their gut microbiome, the bacteria living in their digestive system, was dramatically more diverse than ours. One study found that modern humans have lost roughly 50% of the gut bacteria diversity that ancient humans had. That diversity came from eating hundreds of different foods across a single year. Today, the average American gets 80% of their calories from just 4 foods: corn, soy, wheat, and rice. Ancient humans ate everything nature offered, and nature offered a lot. They weren't just surviving. They were eating better than most people reading this right now. So the food was varied, it was nutritious, and it was free. But surely getting it was exhausting, right? Surely every single day was a desperate scramble to survive. Not even close. In 1966, anthropologist Marshall Solins presented a paper that would completely change how scientists understood prehistoric life. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society, not because they had wealth, but because they had something more valuable: enough time. Here's the data that stunned researchers. The Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups on Earth, spend an average of just 4 to 6 hours per day acquiring food, including everything: hunting, gathering, preparing, cooking. That's it. The rest of the day is theirs. But what about bad days? Droughts? Failed hunts? This is where it gets fascinating. Ancient humans didn't rely on one food source. If the hunt failed, there were berries. If the berries were out of season, there were roots. If the river was low, there were insects. Modern humans created an entire agricultural system to solve food insecurity and somehow ended up more dependent on fewer foods than ever before. Ancient humans had a backup for every backup. Your ancestors weren't desperate. They were diversified. But let's talk about the part everyone is actually curious about: the hunt. Because when most people imagine ancient humans hunting, they picture chaos. Screaming men with spears chasing terrified animals across open plains. Dangerous, exhausting, unpredictable. The reality was something far more remarkable. Humans are persistence hunters. We don't outrun our prey, we outlast them. Here's how it works. A hunter spots an animal: an antelope, a deer, a wildebeest. He doesn't sprint after it. He jogs, steadily, consistently, tracking it across miles of terrain. The animal runs, stops, looks back, runs again. But every time it stops, the hunter is still coming. Here's the biological secret. Most animals cool down by panting. But panting requires them to stop running. Humans sweat. We are one of the only species on Earth that can regulate body temperature while moving continuously. So we just keep going. After 3 to 6 hours, the animal is overheated, exhausted, and confused. It stops, and the hunter walks up to it. No chaos, no desperation, just patience. And here's what that means for the group back at camp. The hunt wasn't an everyday emergency. It was a planned, methodical activity that maybe happened 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes less. A successful hunt meant enough meat for days. Food wasn't hunted out of panic. It was collected with confidence. So if life was this good, if food was free, varied, and required only a fraction of your day to acquire, why did we ever stop? About 10,000 years ago, in a region called the Fertile Crescent, roughly modern-day Iraq and Syria, humans began doing something they had never done before. They planted seeds on purpose and waited. It seems like an obvious upgrade. Grow your own food, control your supply, never go hungry again. But what actually happened was the opposite of freedom. Here's the trap nobody talks about. Farming produces more calories per acre than foraging. More calories means you can feed more people. More people means you need more calories. More calories means more farming. Within just a few generations, populations exploded and there was no going back. Because now, there were too many mouths to feed through hunting and gathering alone. The trap had closed, and farming was brutal work. Plowing, planting, weeding, irrigating, harvesting, storing, then defending your stored food from animals, raiders, and neighbors who were also hungry. The archaeological evidence is devastating. Early farmers were shorter than hunter-gatherers. Their bones showed signs of severe nutritional deficiency. Their spines were damaged from repetitive labor. Their teeth were rotting from grain-heavy diets. They died younger. They worked harder, ate worse, and lived shorter lives than the people who came before them. But the population kept growing. And with larger populations came something entirely new: specialization. Not everyone could farm, so some people made tools, some people made pottery, some people built walls, some people collected taxes, and suddenly, for the first time in 300,000 years of human history, your time belonged to someone else. That's where jobs came from. Not from ambition, not from progress, from a trap that was already 5,000 years old before anyone thought to question it. So let's add this up. For 300,000 years, food was free. Not cheap, not subsidized. Free. You woke up and the earth fed you. No invoice, no alarm, no Monday morning. Then 10,000 years ago, we planted some seeds and somehow ended up here, spending roughly 1/3 of our entire waking lives working, not to thrive, just to eat, just to afford the basic thing that was never supposed to cost anything. The average American spends $11,000 a year on food. That's roughly 20% of their income just to cover the one thing your body cannot survive without. The thing your ancestors never paid a single cent for. But it's not just the money. It's the relationship with food that changed. Ancient humans didn't have eating disorders. They didn't count calories. They didn't feel guilty after a meal. They didn't eat alone in front of a screen. Food was communal, seasonal, varied, and completely stress-free. You ate when you were hungry because food was there. Today, 1 in 5 people report feeling anxious about affording their next meal, in the wealthiest civilization in human history. Think about that. We built the most sophisticated food production system the world has ever seen. We can grow strawberries in January. We can order food from a restaurant 10 miles away and have it at our door in 30 minutes. We have more food variety than any humans in history. And somehow people are still going hungry. Your ancient ancestors spent 4 to 6 hours a day feeding themselves and their entire community. Fresh food, diverse food, free food. Then they spent the rest of the day doing whatever they wanted. You spend 90,000 hours of your life working. A significant chunk of that just to afford groceries. They didn't farm to survive, they just lived. And the earth provided. We built an entire civilization trying to make food more reliable, and ended up with 1 billion people who can't afford it. That's not progress. That's the longest con in human history.